Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting straight through the noise, the massive noise around NVIDIA.
It's unavoidable right now.
Totally. Historic run, GTC announcements, pushing them towards what, nearly $5 trillion market cap? It's incredible.
$8.8885 trillion, yeah. Astonishing numbers.
So our mission today, give you the essentials, the facts, the strategy, the market view, all distilled down. We want to keep this really focused, easy to follow. What's actually driving this?
And it's crucial because this isn't just, one chip launch hype. It's a confluence, really. You've got the tech, like Blackwell, which is a leap.
Right.
You've got this massive AI market enthusiasm. And then there's this whole geopolitical layer, especially with Washington. It all clicks together.
Okay, let's start with GTC then. That keynote seemed to be the real catalyst for this latest surge, pulling the whole tech sector up. What were the sort of core announcements? Hardware, partners?
But the big ones were very targeted. Major U.S. AI supercomputer projects confirmed.
Yep.
Department of Energy, Oracle.
Yeah.
That's big public sector buy-in. But maybe the most strategic piece was the heavy emphasis on domestic production.
Ah, right. The U.S. manufacturing story. Blackwell chips. They're actually in a full production now, using TSMC in Arizona.
Exactly. Phoenix facility. And that's not just logistics. It's a political signal, building the next-gen AI infra in the U.S.
Makes sense.
And they really showcased how broad their reach is becoming. Partnerships like CrowdStrike, Palantir, even Uber for robotaxis. It shows that their silicon isn't just cloud hardware. It's becoming embedded in, future operations.
Security, data analysis, autonomy.
All running on NVIDIA.
Okay, but then there was this other strategic move, maybe a bit unexpected, the $1 billion investment. Tell us about that. It seemed like quite a bet.
Yeah, the Nokia deal. On the surface, maybe a bit surprising, but I think it's actually quite smart. A $1 billion stake in investment in Nokia.
Why Nokia, though? Feels a bit removed from their core GPU business.
It's about the bigger picture. It's about controlling the standards for the next generation of infrastructure, AI, and 6G networks.
Ah.
They want to ensure that future 6G networks are optimized for, and ideally run on, their platforms. They also unveiled something called the Aerial RAN Computer Pro.
Okay.
Think of it as an accelerated platform specifically for telcos. It lets them run all that complex network management stuff on powerful AI hardware, making the shift to 6G much more efficient.
Got it. So they're directly linking their AI dominance to the future telco infrastructure. Smart. But GTC had an even stranger twist, right? Quantum computing?
Yes. NVQLink. That was fascinating. For anyone listening who isn't deep in quantum, think of quantum computers, QPUs, as incredibly powerful, but also very delicate and error-prone.
Right.
NVQLink is basically a super fast connection. It links these QPUs directly to NVIDIA GPUs.
Okay. Why?
The GPU acts as a control layer. It manages the QPU, does calibration, and, crucially, real-time error correction. Keeps the quantum calculation on track.
So the GPU kind of manages the quantum processor and the scale they're talking about, hundreds of qubits now, but aiming for hundreds of thousands.
Exactly. And this isn't just a research paper. They already have, 17 QPU companies partnering with them on this specific hardware?
Wow.
They're positioning themselves to be the control plane for quantum, just like they did for AI years ago. They're thinking way ahead about where computation is going.
Okay, so that domestic manufacturing point, making Blackwell in Arizona, it raises the question, why hold GTC in Washington, D.C. this time? What's the message there?
Oh, it's a huge message.
Yeah.
It signals that NVIDIA sees geopolitics and regulation as maybe its biggest non-technical risk factor right now. Holding it in D.C. lets Huang engage directly with policymakers, frame AI infrastructure not just as business, but as national security.
Yeah, I saw he was really pushing that line. Build AI here in the U.S., have the world build on our stack. And he even referenced former President Trump directly.
He did mention Trump asking him to bring manufacturing back.
Right.
Linked it straight to national security, jobs.
It's a remarkably direct political engagement for a tech CEO.
It really is like open negotiation. It shows that getting political buy-in, smoothing over regulatory hurdles, especially around China, that's a core strategic pillar now. It's not just about the tech specs.
Which brings us right to that China Balancing Act. It's super delicate. Let's just lay out the facts impartially here.
Okay. So historically, the Trump administration banned certain high-end chip sales to China. Cost NVIDIA billions, reportedly.
Right. The H100 couldn't go there.
Then there was maneuvering. Licenses were granted, apparently, in exchange for a revenue cut. though the rules weren't fully set then.
And now they have chips specifically designed for China to comply with U.S. rules, right?
Right.
Like the H20 and the upcoming B30, less powerful versions.
Exactly, export compliant. And they're actively lobbying for the Blackwell platform, well, the B30 version of it, to be cleared for China. The potential upside is massive.
How massive?
The CFO herself mentioned potential H20 revenue, just H20, could be $2 billion to $5 billion this quarter if tensions ease. That's a huge swing tied directly to diplomacy.
Wow. But what's interesting is Huang's own take on the AI race. He said the U.S. is not far ahead of China, citing China's lead in energy for AI open source models.
Yeah, that definitely contrasts with, say, former President Trump's statement about the U.S. beating everybody.
Right.
It highlights a nuance. The U.S. might lead in chip design, sure, but the whole AI ecosystem that involves power, data, open standards, talent. The race looks a lot closer when you factor all that in, maybe tighter than policymakers realize.
Okay, let's shift gears. From strategy to valuation, what are the analysts, the market makers, focusing on? What are the key themes driving that nearly $5 trillion number?
Well, the overwhelming consensus is still incredibly bullish. Analysts see NVIDIA as the main winner from the whole generative AI boom. It's a secular trend, they say.
Blackwell demand is just seen as enormous.
Exactly. And the feeling is the Gen AI build-out is just getting started, so you see price targets just keep getting raised across the board.
And those strategic wins, we talked about government deals, domestic production, the CUDA software moat, those things reduce the political risk, right?
Right.
Which boosts confidence.
Absolutely. Investors like seeing that political friction reduced, but, a proper deep dive needs the counterpoints, the risks.
Okay, what are they?
Competition is always there. Qualcomm, AMD, Broadcom are all pushing into AI chips. That's a long-term risk.
But the consensus is CUDA keeps them safe for now.
Pretty much, yeah. That software ecosystem is a huge advantage, very sticky. The more immediate concern, the one people are really watching, is supply and margins.
Ah, so can they actually make enough Blackwell chips?
Right. There are warnings about near-term supply constraints. Plus, these new chips are incredibly complex and expensive to make. So even with huge demand, those factors could actually cap the revenue and margin upside in the next quarter or two.
So the production ramp speed is critical.
That's the key metric to watch. How fast can they get Blackwell out the door?
And then there's the B word, valuation. It looks historically high, right?
Yeah. Extremely high. Now, most analysts justify it, pointing to massive expected earnings growth. But you have to acknowledge there's a minority view saying the stock is just, stretched.
Meaning it needs perfect execution to hold up.
Precisely. No room for error at these levels.
So that brings up a practical point. If you're involved or just watching the market, what signals should you actually track right now? What's the actionable info?
Okay, first, obviously, Blackwell production and shipment updates. Are those supply constraints easing? Is the ramp on schedule, ahead, behind? That directly impacts revenue.
Got it. What else?
Listen very carefully on the earnings calls for commentary about orders and bookings. Specifically, are the big cloud guys, the hyperscalers, are they increasing their forward orders? That signals sustained demand beyond the initial rush.
Makes sense. Competition.
Yeah, watch for any specific customer wins by AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. Especially if it's a major customer, maybe trying to diversify away from CDA. That would be a significant signal.
And don't forget the macro stuff, right? Fed talk, rates, general tech sentiment.
Oh, absolutely. NVIDIA often just amplifies whatever the broader market trend is. It's so big now.
Okay, any quick tactical thoughts for people trading the flows around this?
Sure, just quick nuggets. If you're holding call options, maybe watch for that implied volatility, the IV, to start compressing after the initial news pop. That can be a signal to maybe lock in gains.
Right, don't let the IV crush eat your profits.
Exactly. And if you're selling premium, the post-news IV spike and then crush is a classic play. But be careful. The market might actually be re-rating the stock permanently higher. Don't just assume it reverts.
Good point. What about index traders?
Just be aware, when NVIDIA leads a rally this hard, it can really warp liquidity across related ETFs or even the whole index. Execution can get sloppy, slippage might increase, so you got to be tight.
Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows NVIDIA isn't just launching chips, it's executing this incredibly complex strategy. Technology, yes, but also geopolitics, domestic manufacturing, integrating quantum, 6G.
The multi-layered game they're playing.
Yeah.
Very high stakes.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah, try connecting those dots. The Nokia 6G deal, the NVQ link for quantum control, the intense focus on Washington and U.S. manufacturing.
What does that convergence mean?
How quickly does this push for a tightly integrated U.S.-centric stack covering AI, telecom, and quantum? How quickly does that rewrite the definition of national security infrastructure?
And what does that imply for global competitors? They're not just chasing NVIDIA's chips anymore. They're chasing a whole integrated system that now has deep political and national security dimensions, something to definitely think about.